Hey, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 7 English lesson on titles. So, we're going to go to aplusstudents.ca and we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 7. All right. So, now we said our chapter is titles. Our subject is English Language Arts. We're doing grade 7. All right. So, we said that our chapter is titles. Our subject is English Language Arts, grade 7. And the lessons that we are focusing on is capitalizing titles and formatting titles. That is our lessons for today under the chapter of titles. All right. So when it comes to capitalizing our titles, right? Within a title, so when you write a title, right, of a story, of anything, so in the title, you need to capitalize the first word, you need to capitalize the last word, and every other important word that is in between. And if we look at examples, right, of how we can capitalize our titles, right, so we said titles. We need to capitalize the first word, we need to capitalize the last word, and every important word in between. If you look at the sentences, the wind in the willows. So here we have one example, right? It says, the wind in the willows. And if you look at this sentence, that is the wind in the willows. So we said that with titles, right? We need to we need to capitalize the first word, which is the. We need to capitalize the last word, which is willows. So if we say the wind in the willows, there the first word is underlined or capitalized. The last word is capitalized, and every other word that is in between is wind. The reason why in and the is not capitalized, right, is because in and the is either an article, it's a preposition, or it's a coordinating conjunction. And then we have another one. Another one says James and the giant peach. We say that the first word needs to be capitalized. The last word, which is peach, needs to be capitalized. Now, every other word that is important, such as giant, is important. And once again, we have the word and the. So when we look at words that is not important, right? Words that are not important when it comes to titles or articles, it's short prepositions, and it is coordinating conjunctions. Those are words that are not important in titles. So, for example, articles. Articles are words such as a, and the, right? So, unless these words are written as the first word of a title, then it will be capitalized. But if it is not the first word within a title, then it is not important. Then it needs to be written with a lowercase. So articles such as a, and the, it is not important. So we do not capitalize articles. Also, short prepositions. Short prepositions such as at, by, for, in, of, on, to, and up. These are words, right, that are also not important. These prepositions are not important. So unless it is the first word of, let's say, the title, then yes, it will be capitalized. But if it's, somewhere in between, then it is not important and we will write it with a lowercase. And the same with coordinating conjunctions. And coordinating conjunctions are and, but, or. And these are words that are not important. So unless it is the first word of the title, like for example, the, then yes, we will, for example, capitalize it. All right. So once again, we said we capitalize the first word of the title, we capitalize the last word of the title, and every other word in between, we need to capitalize it. But that is every other important word. We said words that are not important are articles, short prepositions, as well as coordinating conjunctions. Those words needs to be written with a lowercase unless it is the start of the title. So now when it comes to titles, right? Once again, we see the title of a book, a title of a movie, a play, a TV show, magazine, or newspaper, right? Those are titles. And the title, like I say, of the book, of a movie, of a play, of a TV show, magazine, or newspaper, right? That should be underlined. All right. And we see that when it comes to the titles of the books, right? Titles of movies, titles of play, TV shows, magazines, or newspapers, we need to underline it, right? It should be underlined. All right. So we see that titles of books, movies, plays, TV shows. So titles of books, movies, play, TV shows, magazines, or newspapers that should be underlined, right? Or that is for typing or for writing, or in italics, which is for typing only. That is the title of either a book, a title of a movie, a play, TV show, magazine, or newspaper. And here we have an example where we say a midnight summer dream. And then we have a title of a poem. And the title of a poem, a song, article, or even the title of a short story, it should be in quotation marks, like over here. You are my sunshine. That is example of a title of a poem, song, articles, and short story. All right. So that needs to be in quotation marks, right? And remember, you will see that some will be underlined or in italics, the others will be in quotation marks. And we're going to have to know which ones are in quotation marks, like a poem, a song, article, or short story. And the ones that's either written in italics or underlined, those are books, movies, plays, TV shows, magazines, and newspapers. All right. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, where we are going to go over more titles and then we are going to our test. So once again, we said in a title, you need to capitalize the first word, you need to capitalize the last word, and every important word in between. All right. So we said that if we look at the wind in the willows, it is words that is also in italics, right? And these words, once for example we have words that are in italics, or not even in italics, if we for example look at that title, we see that the first word of a title needs to be capitalized, the last word of the title needs to be capitalized, and every other important words. Because now if we look at the word, like maybe look at the title James and the Giant Peach, what makes the word giant important? And remember, we said words that are not important. Sorry. Words that are not important are articles, right? Words like a and in the. And the reason why we say they are not important, right? Remember, if you look at the word James and the giant peach, James is the first word of the title, so yes, we capitalize it. Peach is the last word of the title, so we capitalize it, but not giant. All right, we need to capitalize giant also because giant is important. It now basically gives us an idea that James is the character within that story. Peach is the character in that story, but not just any peach, it's going to be a giant peach. So, which means that that is our sentence or our title, and giant is important. Words like and, but, or, so, short prepositions, articles, coordinating conjunctions are not important, so we're going to write it with lower cases. All right. So we said words like articles, short prepositions, and coordinating conjunctions are not important unless it is the first word of the title. All right. So now we're going to our test, right? And we are now going to capitalize titles. It says click to capitalize the play's titles correctly. So we need to click to capitalize the play's title. It says My Fair Lady. Is it option one, My Fair Lady, or option two, My Fair Lady? Which one is correct? So we need to say which one is correct. My Fair Lady. Is it My Fair Lady option one or option two that is correct? The title. All right, so My Fair Lady. We need to click to capitalize the play's title correctly. All right, so if we say My Fair Lady, and then we will go with option one. And the reason why we went with option one, remember the first word needs to be capitalized, the last word needs to be capitalized, and fair describes the lady. The next one says we need to click to capitalize the play's title correctly. So we say White House down. So White House down, is it option one, White House down, or option two, White House down? We need to capitalize the place title, option one or option two. White House down. All right, so if we want to capitalize the place title, we will do option two, White House down. All right, so option two is correct. We need to capitalize the newspaper title correctly. So we say that the New York Times, option one, or option two, the New York Times. We need to capitalize the newspaper title correctly. So we need to capitalize our this newspaper title. It says, is it the New York Times, or is it option two where it is all capitalized, the New York Times? And if we capitalize the newspaper, it says the New York Times, option one, or option two. We need to choose the correct one. And if we were to choose our newspaper's title, we'll go with option two, the New York Times. Because remember, the first word is capitalized, the last word is capitalized, and every important words in between are capitalized. All right, let's go to it says, the elephant man. The elephant man. We need to capitalize the movie title correctly. The Elephant Man. Is it option one, The Elephant Man? Or is it option two, which is The Elephant Man? Remember, the first word needs to be capitalized, the last word needs to be capitalized, and every other important word needs to be capitalized. Articles, short prepositions, and coordinating conjunctions, they are not important. So they should not be capitalized unless it is the start of that title, the first word of that title. Like, for example, like the, which is the first word. Now, this is quite important, so we're going to write it with a capital letter. All right. So we say we're going to formatting titles now, right? We went to capitalizing titles, and we say that when we capitalize titles, the first word needs to be capitalized, the last word needs to be capitalized, and every other important words in between needs to be capitalized. Words like articles, short prepositions, and coordinating conjunctions, they are not articles. All right. So now we need to write down or choose the, we need to correctly choose the titles of the book. All right. And remember, we said when it comes to titles of books, right? We either need to underline or it needs to be written in italics, right? Books, movies, plays, short stories, magazines, and newspapers. Then we have, all right, so we are going to choose, or we're going to format titles now by choosing the correct title, right? Keeping in mind that even if you write poems, a song, an article, or short story, those are words that needs to be in quotation marks. So if you do see a sentence and there's quotation marks, it is, and it needs to be in quotation marks, sorry, then that is important. That is basically either a poem, a song, an article, or short story. All right, now we're going to test. we need to say, we need to format the titles, right? By correctly showing the title of a magazine. All right. So we need to now say which correctly shows the title of a magazine. Is it option one, first for women? All right. So we need to say which title of a magazine, or which correctly shows the title of a magazine. Is it option one, first for women, or option two, underlined first for women? We need to choose the magazine. So we need to correctly show the title of a magazine. We said, is it option one, first for women, or option two? Let's go with underlined first for women. So the second option that is underlined, that is our magazine. The next one says, we need to correctly show the title of a song. All right, we need to now correctly show the title of a song. Title of a song. So we need to choose the title of a song. Is it option one, Farmer in the Dell? All right, and if we were to choose the correct title of that, we will go with option two. Remember, we said titles, poems, it needs to be in quotation marks, right? The next one says, you can't do that on television. All right, so now it says, which currently shows the title of a TV show. All right, and if we were to select our TV shows, a TV show, and then we can say the TV shows within ah TV show is actually it is not it's not in italics. We actually need to either underline it or write it in italics. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on titles. All right, guys, I hope you could hear me. My voice is quite gone. But this is the end of our lesson on titles. Thank you very much for joining the class. We said titles are basically you get your book titles, movie titles of movies, magazines, newspapers, right? And when writing a title, we need to keep in mind that the first word of a title, the last word of a title, and every other word in between, it needs to be capitalized. We do not capitalize articles, short preposition, as well as coordinating conjunctions. Those are not considered as important unless it is the first word of the title. Then only we capitalize it. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade 7. I really hope you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.